So this morning I thought of a song that I think we've sung here sometimes, and it sings through me sometimes. Here I am, Lord. Actually, it's I am here, Lord. Here I am, Lord, it is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, where you lead me, holding your people in my heart. I am here, Lord. It is I, Lord. Who is this, Lord? What do you believe? You know, one of the things that I'm aware of is that very often when we hear somebody else speak about something, we want to take on what they believe. And I'm just going to encourage you. I'm going to encourage you to find what you believe. Because you see, if I take away what you believe, because you're trying to believe what I believe, I literally fill you with doubt and conflict and uncertainty in your faith. And I'm aware that what you believe and how you believe is your faith, your strength, your truth, your vision, your purpose. And therefore, while I am speaking with you, I'm really inviting you to speak to you and listen to you. That somewhere you know this place, this sacred place of provision. Now, a fascinating thing is that I looked up what this provision thing is. And I suppose it could have been really obvious to me because I like to look at the root meanings of words and everything. Provision. Guess what that means? Foresight. It means being able to see ahead of us. Provision. So this place of provision is going to come from a place in you that looks deeper to what is true for now and always. Wow. Now most of us, I think, wearing bodies and need clothes and food and money and all that other stuff, we seem to think that something somewhere else is going to, some of us, and sometimes, because it's not all the time, is going to drop all that money on us, give us clothes, give us food, give us a job, give us a home. I mean, I'll bet you everybody in this room at some time has thought that way. Please give me what I need. Right? Haven't you ever thought that? Yeah. So what I am looking at today is, what is this providing provision thing? So to provide for someone, to take care of someone by making money in order to buy the things that they need. A providing beforehand. Action of arranging. This is actually in the dictionary. Action of arranging in advance. Sounds like a mommy-daddy to me. And we're talking about mommies and daddies here later. And some of us really feel that God, the Lord, is our mommy and daddy. You know, mother, father, God, right? A lot of us were taught that. And I think a lot of us who are still in a dependent state on mommy-daddy energy are still believing too high, too low. It's buzzing. Will you ever turn me off? I'll never turn off, by the way. I'll never turn off. So, if you look at your dependence on something external to you, are you still hoping, wishing, praying that somebody comes through with provision for you when you feel you can't do what you need to do? I mean, I think that's pretty much what our human self wants, whether it's our wife is going to do it, or our boss is going to do it, or the government's going to do it, or this God in the sky is going to do it. Am I wrong about that? Don't you often, when you hear these songs and say these words, think of that? Something external to you is going to do for you what an ideal mommy-daddy would do. What a truly loving, holy loving being would do. And by the way, if this continues to be your belief, Stick with it. I'm not going to take it away from you. I want you to begin to imagine that there is God that I, Betty Lue, often call different words. They're all good, though. Actually, it is good. That's the word that I usually call it. So, yesterday or 2 days ago, someone was talking about, oh, it was yesterday. I got a haircut, did you notice? When you get your haircut, by the way, sometimes, if you believe this is true, it will happen to you. Everything clears up and all the old is past. It just literally is clipped away. So, one of the things that came to me during the hair washing time, actually, this probably is all a good metaphor for life, is I was being told a story about a son that made his transition at age 56, and the mother was angry at God because God took her son. And you may have learned that's your truth. And by the way, I honor you, and if that's your truth, great. But for some reason, because I was having my hair clipped, I decided I needed to say one thing in this conversation. That's my truth. And my truth is God takes nothing away. And nothing is lost. And nothing is bad. That we're simply choosing how we perceive and who we give credit to and who we blame. So begin to ask yourself how you see this life you have. How do you see this life you have? We come here to Unity, and you know what? We have these wonderful principles, and one of them, perhaps the one that I want to highlight today, is thought creates. So what you think about what happens is creating your experience of what's happening. So what if this foresight or provision, you guys, what if this foresight or provision, is actually your willingness to let go of what you've made up and start listening deeper for a vision of goodness and love in all things. No holds barred, all things. And not needing to figure it out or analyze it or fix it or try to make it something other than what it is. What if provision is your willingness to undo what never was true, but we bought into? If that's true, we've got to undo a lot of stuff. Because it's pretty prevalent that there's someone, or lots of someones, out there doing stuff we don't want done. Whether we name it externally, evil, devil, the sinners, the bad guys, the negatives. Or what we do is we say, somehow I bought into a false belief that has caused me fear, dis-ease, inner conflict, lack of faith, and a sense somewhere in me, that I'm either a victim of this world or I'm weak, needy, and at the effect. So I'm kind of feeling myself right now, and if I own that I'm a body, there's a lot of times that I think this body is having its way with me. Yeah? If I think that I am the money that's in my purse or bank account, there are times that I allow money to have its way with me. There might even be times when I look at disasters, what we call them. That would be a good one to look at the root meaning of. And let what's happening externally have its way with me. And I'm wondering who this me is that I'm setting up to think that she's not perfectly abundantly, joyfully, gratefully provided for all the time. Who is she? Who are you? See, I'm aware when I stand up here that I can hear you and you can hear me on multiple levels, all the way to the littlest to infinite. And so when I listen to you, I can hear all the ways we have been schooled to believe. That teachers, preachers, bosses, government, God, is literally having its way with us. And where I'm wondering is, where are you? Where am I? And I'm noticing this topic is a lot for the mind. It's not easy for me to just express what I hold to be the truth. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to tone it down a little bit and come back to, so what do I do? What do I do when I feel like something's having its way with me? Whether it's a bellyache or it's that person over there who's, having their way with me, or they think they are, or, it's something going on with traffic or weather, what do I do? Well, the first thing I do is I notice something's not true. If it's not good, it's not God. If it's not love, it's not God. I know that's true. And nobody and nothing is ever going to convince me otherwise. If I'm a little weak and shaky in that area, I might begin to believe otherwise, but I don't. So if I know that untruth is happening, if love isn't going on everywhere, if goodness isn't showing up in my life, guess what? Somehow I've stepped off the path. I've turned off my hearing aid and I'm not listening anymore. So I have to step away from the world of distraction, the world I see. I told Robert to do this, so I'm going to do it right now, and then I can stand over here. So the world of distraction I have to step away from, because otherwise if I go and I ask, I'll say random folks out there, they're going to believe that the world is having its way with us, and we are in trouble. And you daggone guys better shape up and be obedient or whatever you need to do in order to get yourself back in order. But where I am is I have to step away from that, and I have to be still, quiet. Sometimes it's a breath. Sometimes it's looking at the clouds. Sometimes it's closing my eyes. Sometimes being still and knowing that I am God. If I am, where does my provision come from? It comes from within me and thee. Provision. God is my strength in every need. Goodness lives in me, and when I tune into that place of provision, I can see the good. Can you? Are you willing to confess to yourself that there's a place in you that always is provided for, that there's a place in you that always sees what's true, that there's a place in you that always is giving and living for the sake of all people, not just you? Have you begun to realize that any answer you want lives in you? So how do you know? How do you know that still point? How do you know that place where God lives, abides in you? Whenever I have a question, I only know one place to go for the answer. In me. And by the way, if I go to you for an answer, if you're the most holy person I know, you're going to give me the answer that's true for you, right? But it may not be true for me. That gives you responsibility for your life and your provision. So when you see the homeless man, it's not what you read in some magazine or you heard from your parents. It's in that moment with that person that you need to be asking. And joyfully, and I'm even going to say obediently, giving what you hear. When you're in conflict, should I or shouldn't I? We talked about shoulds this morning. Don't should on yourself. When you're in conflict, you need to understand that there's a part of yourself that thinks you know the answer, and a part of yourself that may be fighting against that answer, but it doesn't belong to the real answer. Because the real answer doesn't have any shoulds. It simply knows. It simply knows. I want to go back to death. Remember that story I was telling you in the beginning? Person who cuts my hair. What if when you listen inside to anyone who appears to have made their transition, that you allow them to tell you why it was the perfect time and the perfect way that they made the choice for their journey? What if when you have a decision to make about your physical health, that instead of listening to your mother, father, sister, brother, nurses, doctors, all those folks in the magazines and all that stuff, that what you do is you listen inside and allow love, God, your inner physician or healer, to guide you. What if when you have a choice about who you're associating with, which could be a family member, or your spouse, or your mother, or somebody that you work with, what if instead of you deciding, I like them, I don't like them, I want to be here, I don't want to be here, that you listen and you say, Spirit, here I am. How would you use me? What is it I'm called to be or do in this experience? So now I'm going to tell you some tricks along the way. I notice that when I listen, I have a certain experience that happens. I'm happy, I'm free, I'm trusting, I'm grateful. Life works easily, effortlessly. And when I don't, when I try to decide for myself, and I know you guys decide for yourself a lot of stuff, right? I would imagine. That you may have questions and doubts, that there may be, 90% of this and 10% of that. Or maybe you actually get afraid, or maybe you actually ask yourself questions over, did I do the right thing, did I do the right thing, and you get stuck in that. Or perhaps you judge you did the wrong thing, and now you're really stuck in judging that you did the wrong thing, you shouldn't have done that, you should have done this, and all this other. I mean, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's when you haven't listened. That's all. So, God, good, love, provides. All the time, 24/7, no matter what. I've heard you calling in the night. That's what the song says. I've heard you calling in the night. One of the best places you can go to listen is go be alone, but in the middle of the night is actually a pretty good time because there's not a lot of going on. There's not a lot of phones doing their thing. Ding! I could have thought that was mine, but it wasn't mine because it's not here. So what if God is calling? What if that was God calling? What if the lights here on the candles, the fire, what if the wind? What if the cry from the child? What if the disaster you just heard about? What if that's all there so that you will understand God is calling? Robert did that neat story about flooding. What if it's all an opportunity for you to remember to listen? So I'm going to ask you the key questions. Do you receive what you're given? Honestly. Or are you busy judging or avoiding? Or wishing it were less or more or different? Do you receive what you're given? You receive what is offered you, all of it, as gift. You receive it. And when you hear, do you follow what you hear? Are you obedient? Are you trusting? Are you someone who willingly receives everything that you are provided? All of it as gift. Some would call it lesson, or wake-up call, or possibility, but do you receive it all? So there's a missing piece here that I'm just feeling right now. So why is there ever neediness? Why is there ever disease? Why is there ever pain or sorrow or lack or bullying or humiliation? Why is there ever anything other than pure heaven, perfection all the time? Why would we show up here if we're all God? Why would we show up here and do this gig? I'm going to make something up. And I'm going to say, so that I remember. So that I remember, so that I awaken myself to remember that I am all that I seek. And that when I remember, you remember. And when we remember, we are the soul cluster that Leslie talked about. That when we live, recognizing we are here to hold all people in our hearts. Robert's often, maybe I have too, quoted what I have on my computer and have had for years and years. God provides, and God is able to provide each of us with every blessing in abundance, so that you may always have enough of everything and may provide in abundance for every good work. So I'm going to say love provides. Love is able to provide you with every blessing in abundance, so that you may always have enough of everything and may provide in abundance for every loving work. What is the only thing that we've really forgotten, you guys? It's love in the world, and we're it. We are the provision, and the provider, and the receiver of what is provided for, and that is the love we are, the God that lives in us, as us, and through us. And that the only thing that really prevails in this world is who you are. Love, God, and good. And so it is.
So it is.